Having just done the slides this afternoon, it's now out of date. Because I'm reliably informed by Julie that the 21st of July is now being pushed back to the 9th of September. So, in some respects, it's good news for student landlords. You're going to get through the initial rush this summer, and you're going to have a bit more time to get sorted for next year. What I've put in is a couple of the proposals from the House of Lords, being the separate pet deposit and reducing the period that you can't re-let if you have applied to evict somebody because you want to sell it, which previously was 12 months. If you didn't sell it, you couldn't put anybody in for 12 months. That's going to be reduced, or proposed to be reduced, to 6. But I've put on the bottom, remember, whatever proposals the House of Lords might make, there is no guarantee that Angela will accept them in the House of Commons. And a purely personal view, not that I'm known for personal views, as you will know, would be that I don't believe Angela is very keen to be seen to be doing a U-turn, because Keir seems to have done enough. And I think that she will dig her toes in, and what will come in is more or less what was proposed initially. Now, in some respects, that's quite good for you guys, because you can actually think about how you are going to run your business going forward. The other snippet that I saw, there was a lot of requests, particularly from Property Mark, NRLA, other organisations, to unfreeze the local housing allowance and to try and bring it back more into line with current rents, and that has been knocked back by Angela on the basis that it would simply funnel more money into private landlords. Work that one out if you can. I actually put a post somewhere that said that really just sums up the lack of understanding politicians have about how the private sector operates, because it's, you know, it's not affecting what goes into the landlord. It just means that tenants either can't afford to rent a property and reduces that choice again, or they're going to have to pay top-ups. So there's not a lot of difference. Just really a reminder that with council tax, if your property is empty, you may be doing work on it, and you have taken the monthly payment option. If you don't make that payment as planned, then the council will normally contact you, and they have the ability to then demand full payment for the year. So my advice is, if you have a payment plan, make sure you do send them something every month. There is some suggestion, shall I say, that the government is going to look at this because they regard it as a little bit high-handed by councils. I mean, personally, I think that they should also look at the ability that the councils have to effectively summon people to court without a lot of proof that there are arrears or that they've actually made contact with the tenants. Again, a reminder for you, when you sort of evict a tenant or you serve notice to end a tenancy, and they go to the local council private sector housing team, very often the advice they're given is, don't go anywhere, stay there till the bailiffs come. If you leave, you will have made yourself voluntarily homeless and we won't be able to help you. Now, that goes against government guidelines, because the government have clearly told councils that they should not be refusing to help tenants who have had a notice to leave a property to end the tenancy. So my advice, and this is again a personal approach to a problem, would be that you get from your tenant the name of the council official who has told them to stay put, or when you give them notice, just explain to them that the council may well tell them not to move, but this will incur them in additional costs in the longer term and will end up with a county court judgment against them, which will impair their ability to get new tenancies. And just say, if you do go to the council, which we recommend you do, and somebody tells you to stay put, take a note of their name and tell me, and we will work with you to try to make sure you're able to move on. Having got the name, then my modus operandi will be write to the individual council officer, advising him that he is going against the government guidelines, and would he like to reconsider the advice that he's giving this tenant. Copy in the chief exec and the leader of the council so that they know, and then suggest that should this continue, then they are obviously penalising the tenant, and you will make it known with the local press and other organisations that this is what they're doing and breaching government guidelines. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but I think it's got more chance than doing nothing. Something else I picked up, those of you that are letting agents or perhaps even look after properties on behalf of other people in an ad hoc sort of basis, that Ricks and Property Mark are campaigning to try and introduce some kind of qualifications to be involved in property management and sales. Now, it's not clear whether it's going to apply to individuals or just agencies. And my advice to anybody who is managing properties, that they think about exploring getting some sort of qualifications. If they're an agent, whether they become qualified with Property Mark or something like that. If you do go down that road and you do get a qualification, then my advice would be that you publicise that and use it as a marketing tool to set yourself apart from the people who are left who have no qualifications. Unfortunately, as gets put out from time to time, there are good agents and there are bad agents. Some know what they're doing, others don't. Going forward with the Renters' Rights Bill, perhaps there is the risk that there may become more who aren't quite up to speed with the changes that are going to hit them, because there are changes that will apply. Found this one as well because I often get asked about deductions from deposits and how if the deposit doesn't cover a house that's been trashed. And seemingly Flatfare are introducing a new product called Deposit Boost, where they will buy off you the debt that is above your current deposit, which is up to 5 weeks' rent, and then they pursue them. I seem to remember a similar thing on Coronation Street a number of years ago, where somebody was getting harassed by an individual who had purchased a debt that this person owed. And all I'm going to say is, if you can get your money without having to struggle and waste a lot of time on the tenant, then it might be worth investigating. It's been mentioned before, Awab's law currently applies to the social sector. It's going to be coming to the private sector as well. But the important things for you to bear in mind is that if you've got a tenant who complains about their condensation, their damp, something like that, then there will be some very strict timelines for you to do something. And you're going to have to investigate. You then must provide your tenant with the findings from that investigation and then do some repairs within 7 days. And if it's an emergency one, then you're going to have to move fairly quickly. And if you can't resolve it in 24 hours, if it's an emergency one, hey ho, you can join the council looking for some temporary accommodation and put your tenants in with some asylum seekers, some tenants that's been evicted that have nowhere to go in council property. So the old excuse that, well, my contractor's busy, he's coming in a month's time, isn't going to wash anymore. You're going to have to find a different contractor.
Yeah,
what I said... Sorry?
Where are they all coming from? Get the repairs done in 7 days, that's cloud cuckoo land. I'm sorry, I'm not holding you responsible for a government decision.
I will...
I don't control the...
What I will say is, if you actually look at the Renters' Rights Bill and a lot of the things that are being proposed, that just falls in line with the rest of them, because it just demonstrates a lack of understanding of practicalities of life. I think if there is one thing that you can perhaps consider, and that is using a damp expert. I mean, we had
30 days in January.
Well, I know of one landlord who the council said that the gable end was leaking on the property and it needed repointing. This was in January because it was making the inside wall damp. And spoke to the builder. Yeah, we could do with repointing it, but the forecast isn't very good. It's going to be frosty. Any cement I put in there is going to fall out. You know, we'll do it, but we're going to have to wait for some better weather. The council's response was, if you can't guess, tough. If you don't do it in the next month, we'll do it at your cost. Not interested. And unfortunately, there's an element of that. So you need to work and try to be seen to be doing things. And if you get a professional damp person, I mean, we've had Neil Marsden speak about damp here before, but you know, somebody similar, and they then give you a report which tells you what you need to do to rectify the problem. If that isn't going to be achievable within the time scale, then I would argue that you have got a reasonable excuse for not complying with the time scale, particularly if you have somebody booked in within their time scale. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with councils and politicians, they seem to be a bit short on common sense. Sorry, no, it's not always easy. Take that comment back.
You said it's 14 days from getting a complaint, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
In my experience, we don't get complaints. The complaints straight to environmental health.
Well, it doesn't matter, Jeff.
So
It's
14 days or...
no, it's from being reported to you.
So if they report to environmental health, then they're going to get on the road.
So it's the clock starts ticking when you become aware. All right. I need to sort of wrap up because we've got a busy night. But rent in advance this year, it's not going to be such an issue if the Renters' Rights Bill isn't going to start making its way through Parliament until September. A lot of your student tenancies will be all sorted for this year. and we'll have a much better idea what the landscape's like next year. Do that.
Sorry to interrupt. Is there an owner of the Nissan VK18 TWX in the room? Already asked.
No, we've already asked.
Sorry.
Have you tried on the pitch?
We've tried everywhere, but yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Right. Lastly, I don't know whether you've booked your place for November for the all-day event, but I would certainly recommend you to stick it in your diary. We have a cracking lineup this year of speakers, and all the speakers are making a trek to the northeast just to talk to you guys. You know, so to see a lineup like that, you probably would struggle to even get that in London at some of the events down there. So it's, you know, it's going to be a good day. And people often ask, when's the next meeting? Well, there you go, 18th of September. After the summer holidays, we'll find some more people to talk to you about other interesting things. That's it.